Thank you. It's really wonderful to be here today with the auto industry workers and management leaders. I'm also pleased to be joined by two incredible members of my cabinet, Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao and Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Scott Pruitt. They've been doing an amazing job. They've done a lot of work in a very short period of time. We're looking forward to getting the rest of our cabinet approved because, believe it or not, we don't have it yet. I also want to thank Senator. We have two great senators from a great state, Tennessee, and we're going to be heading out there very soon, right, Bob?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Lamar, very much. Appreciate you being here. You want to take some of this business back with you, I think, right? But they're doing big expansions in Michigan. That's what I've been promising, and I guess maybe it's one of the reasons I won the state of Michigan, much to the surprise of a lot of people because it's been many, many years. But I also want to thank Mary Barra on my right, who really has been spearheading it and doing a great job with General Motors. We're going to create 900 brand new jobs. That was just announced, and that's going to be peanuts compared to the kind of numbers we're going to be seeing in the near future. I believe Mary's going to get on board and really build new plants in Michigan and other states in the United States, and it's going to be thousands and thousands of workers. And I want to thank you very much because you really have been spearheading. My first week in office, some of the executives came to the White House, became friendly with Mark. Where's Mark? Where's Mark sitting? And Bill Ford, and it's been really great, Mark, and I appreciate everything you're doing. It's been just super. Sergio flew in from Europe. He told me it took him 12 hours. I said, what kind of a plane were you flying? Where's Sergio? There he is. But you've been doing great, and you make a great product, and I appreciate it, especially when you make them in the United States. Right? So thank you. So the Obama administration, 11th hour executive actions, we're going back, and they really did go back on a promise, and it would have, I think, destroyed or further destroyed the automobile industry. The prior administration promised to listen to industry leaders like you about any concern you had with the current fuel efficiency standards during a so-called midterm review in 2016 and 2018. Then the days went by, and before my inauguration, they did away with a midterm review. Is that a correct statement, Mary? You don't want to get too involved politically, but is that a correct statement? They did away with it. Could I ask you, Mark, is that a correct statement?
Yeah, they finalized it.
Right? It never happened. Were you misrepresented? We want to use a nice term. Were you misrepresented too?
It wasn't according to the process.
Okay. Imposing painful new restrictions on the American automobile production lines and undermining our ability to compete with other countries and other places throughout the world, which are very, very competitive, believe me, especially when it comes to making cars. Today I'm here to make right on what you were promised. We are reinstituting the midterm review. We're going to reinstitute that review, and we're giving you a voice in the process. We're going to do some wonderful work with you, but you have to come back and you have to give us big numbers in terms of jobs. And I know the unions are going to treat them very nicely because, Dennis, we can't go crazy here. You understand that, okay? We got to take it nice and easy. We love the workers. We got to take it nice and easy. We got to let them build. Remember that, Dennis. I know you so well. So I know you're competitors, and you'll always be competitors, but we're all on the same side. The most important issue. This is, to me, the most important issue, and that's keeping jobs in America and creating new jobs in the United States. That's why I'm here today. We're going to create new jobs, many, many new jobs, new plants, not just an expansion of the plants, new plants, modern plants, like you've been building in Mexico, like you've been building in other locations. We want to have new plants built in Michigan and new plants built in Ohio and new plants in Pennsylvania and North Carolina and so many other places. And that's what we're looking for. So we're going to go all out. We're lowering your taxes. We're going to remove one job-killing regulation after another. The regulations have already made a big impact on the auto business and on most other businesses, and we're far from being finished. We've signed many executive orders reducing regulations. We are far from finished. We think we can get rid of about 75% of the regulations in many cases and have more security for the worker, for the environment, and in safety, because safety is so important. So we'll have better security, and that's why I'm very glad that my head of the environmental protection is here, Scott, wherever you are, Scott. So, hello, Scott. So this is going to be a new era for American jobs and job creation, and a new era, almost like the beginning, for the American automobile manufacturers. We're going to make thousands and thousands and thousands of additional cars. We're going to make them in the United States. We're going to work with you on regulations. We're going to work with you on taxes. But you've got to work with us on new plants, on new jobs, and bringing back our country to a level that it's never seen before in terms of automobile production. And if you're going to do that, you're going to see some really wonderful things happen for yourselves, your industry, and for, most importantly, the people of Michigan and Ohio and all of the states that were so good to me. And they were good to me because they were treated very, very unfairly. And so I'm just here today to begin the process. And with that, if anybody has any questions, would love to take them. Go ahead. Anybody? Dennis, do you want to ask something? It's always tough when I have the union guy ask first, right? That's always dangerous, Mark, but that's okay. Go ahead, Dennis.
Well, I just, I appreciate everything you said. I think that the focus on jobs in the United States is so important to us as a country and as working men and women in this country. And it's not just jobs, but it's good paying jobs and jobs that we can buy homes and vehicles that we build and everything else. But I do get concerned about environmental standards, and I agree with you that the 2018 discussion that we had and I think it was 2012.
Right.
Yeah. Discussion. But we have to have a midterm view, because the way we look at it is that we have to deal with the environment. We have to do it in a responsible way where manufacturers are not put in a situation that they cannot invest, but at the same time meet the environmental needs of our nation. So that's a concern.
100%. We agree with you. We all agree with you 100%. But we want you to make great cars, and if it takes an extra thimble full of fuel, we don't want that to stop making. And sometimes it's a tiny amount of fuel. It's a very small thing we're talking about, and we want you to make. I understand your business very well. I understand mechanics very well. I would have been a very good shop steward, but I would have been a good mechanic. And there comes a point at which you are not making great product anymore. It comes a point at which I would even say people end up buying used cars because they work better because of restrictions that are put on your new product. And we don't want to be at that position, and you were being forced into a position where, in my opinion, that was going to happen. So we're going to open it up, and we're going to make it good in terms of your workers, which, years ago you had thousands and thousands of more workers making automobiles in this country than you do today. And this isn't just machinery and robotics. This is, the basics. And we're going to change that. And we want robotics. We want all of that to happen. We're going to make that too, by the way. But when I looked at the numbers, I saw thousands, tens of thousands of more workers many years ago than you have today. And we're going to bring that all back. We're going to bring it back for the worker. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, Dennis.
Mr. President, on any given day, we're all fierce competitors. And I think the reason you have 18 OEMs or car makers sitting around here is because under your leadership to be able to put this midterm review back on track, which was what we agreed to back in 2011.
Well, you weren't treated fairly, because I went to many people, and I'm talking about people that are down the middle. They don't care about anything. They just want a certain fairness, and they were involved.
Exactly.
And you were not treated. You were misrepresented.
And I think to your point, I just want to make clear that what we've asked for and what you've responded to is to reinstate the review. It's not a rejection of what we agreed to. It's to process. And so we really appreciate your leadership, and as always, we're absolutely, committed to improving fuel economy for our customers. Less greenhouse gases, it's safe for the environment, but we need to make sure that it's done sensibly, to your point, in taking into account jobs.
That's right. Thank you, Mark, very much. Good job, too. Mary?
Yeah, I would say echo the comments. I think by opening up the midterm review, we can look at all the development and technologies that have been developed in the last 5 years and the way the industry is changing, not only with ride sharing, with higher use, so we can actually accomplish and do the right thing for the environment, do it more effectively, that supports jobs and supports new technology. So I think it is very beneficial that we have this discussion and find the pathway to do the right thing, and I think we can.
And you have to compete with other countries, too. And we're going to make you so competitive that the only ones you can blame are going to be yourselves. You're not going to blame government anymore because you're not doing well against certain countries. I'm so impressed with the people. I'm looking at Toyota. I'm looking at Kia. I'm looking at all these great car companies, Volvo. It's so impressive. Then I look at Reince. I'm blessing. I'm old. You should run a car company. He probably will end up doing that in a long time, but maybe not. I don't know. He's done a great job, Reince. But I thought we could go around the table and we could start with our great Senator Bob Corker and just introduce yourself real quickly and we'll all know who's here.
Yes, sir. Bob Corker, Tennessee. I'm glad to be with you.
Thank you.
I know that the automobile industry plays such a huge role in our nation, and I'm glad to see it flourishing here as it is in many places across the country.
The President
honored
of
to
the
be with all
United
of you. Thank you.
States.
Thank you very much. Wow. What a nice visit this was. Inspirational visit, I have to tell you. I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. I want to thank Howard Kettle, Francis Spradley of the Andrew Jackson Foundation, and all of the foundation's incredible employees and supporters for preserving this great landmark, which is what it is. It's a landmark of our national heritage. And a special thank you to Governor Bill Haslam and his incredible wife, who we just rode over together, and Senators Lamar Alexander and Bob Corker, two great friends of mine, been a big help, both incredible guys. In my address to Congress, I look forward to 9 years to the 250th anniversary of American independence. Today I call attention to another anniversary, the 250th birthday of the very great Andrew Jackson. And he loved Tennessee, and so do I, to tell you that. On this day in 1767, Andrew Jackson was born on the backwoods soil of the Carolinas. From poverty and obscurity, Jackson rose to glory and greatness, first as a military leader and then as the 7th President of the United States. He did it with courage, with grit, and with patriotic heart. And by the way, he was one of our great presidents. Jackson was the son of the frontier. His father died before he was born. His brother died fighting the British in the American Revolution. And his mother caught a fatal illness while tending to the wounded troops. At the age of 14, Andrew Jackson was an orphan. And look what he was able to do. Look what he was able to build. It was during the Revolution that Jackson first confronted and defied an arrogant elite. Does that sound familiar to you? I wonder why they keep talking about Trump and Jackson, Jackson and Trump. Oh, I know the feeling, Andrew. Captured by the Redcoats and ordered to shine the boots of a British officer, Jackson simply refused. The officer took his saber and slashed at Jackson, leaving gashes in his head and hand that remained permanent scars for the rest of his life. These were the first and far from the last blows that Andrew Jackson took for his country that he loved so much. From that day on, Andrew Jackson rejected authority that looked down on the common people. First as a boy, when he bravely served the revolutionary cause. Next, as the heroic victor at New Orleans, where his ragtag, and it was a ragtag militia, but they were tough. And they drove the British imperial forces from America in a triumphant end to the War of 1812. He was a real general, that one. And finally, as president, when he reclaimed the people's government from an emerging aristocracy. Jackson's victory shook the establishment like an earthquake. Henry Clay, Secretary of State for the defeated President John Quincy Adams, called Jackson's victory mortifying and sickening. Oh, boy, does this sound familiar. Have we heard this? This is terrible. He said there had been no greater calamity in the nation's history. The political class in Washington had good reason to fear Jackson's great triumph. The rich and powerful, Jackson said, too often bend the acts of government to their selfish purposes. Jackson warned they had turned government into an engine for the support of the few at the expense of the many. Andrew Jackson was the people's president, and his election came at a time when the vote was finally being extended to those who did not own property. To clean out the bureaucracy, Jackson removed 10% of the federal workforce. He launched a campaign to sweep out government corruption, totally. He didn't want government corruption. He expanded benefits for veterans. He battled the centralized financial power that brought influence at our citizens' expense. He imposed tariffs on foreign countries to protect American workers. That sounds very familiar. Wait till you see what's going to be happening pretty soon, folks. It's time. It's time. Andrew Jackson was called many names, accused of many things, and by fighting for change, earned many, many enemies. Today, the portrait of this orphan son who rose to the presidency hangs proudly in the Oval Office opposite the portrait of another great American, Thomas Jefferson. I brought the Andrew Jackson portrait there. Right behind me, right, boom, over my left shoulder. Now I'm honored to sit between those two portraits and to use this high office to serve, defend, and protect the citizens of the United States. It is my great honor, I will tell you that. From that desk, I can see out the wonderful, beautiful, large, great window to an even greater magnolia tree, standing strong and tall across the White House lawn. That tree was planted there many years ago when it was just a sprout, carried from these very grounds, came right from here. Beautiful tree. That sprout was nourished. It took root. And on this, his 250th birthday, Andrew Jackson's magnolia is a sight to behold. I looked at it actually this morning. Really beautiful. But the growth of that beautiful tree is nothing compared to the growth of our beautiful nation. That growth has been made possible because more and more of our people have been given their dignity as equals under the law and equals in the eyes of God. Andrew Jackson was a military hero and genius and a beloved president, but he was also a flawed and imperfect man, a product of his time. It is the duty of each generation to carry on the fight for justice. My administration will work night and day to ensure that the sacred rights which God has bestowed on his children are protected for each and every one of you, for each and every American. We must all remember Jackson's words that in the planter, the farmer, the mechanic, and the laborer, we will find muscle and bone of our country. So true. So true. Now we must work in our time to expand, and we have to do that because we have no choice. We're going to make America great again, folks. We're going to make America great again. To expand the blessings of America to every citizen in our land. And when we do, watch us grow. Watch what's happening. You see it happening already. You see it with our great military. You see it with our great markets. You see it with our incredible business people. You see it with the level of enthusiasm that they haven't seen in many years. People are proud again of our country. And you're going to get prouder and prouder and prouder. I can promise you that. And watch us grow. We will truly be one nation with deep roots, a strong core, and a very new springtime of American greatness yet to come. Andrew Jackson, we thank you for your service. We honor you for your memory. We build on your legacy. And we thank God for the United States of America. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.